And when you actually learn about history and politics, the belief in the Bible's infallibility has fueled numerous conflicts, from ancient holy wars like the Crusades, which were driven by divine mandate for land, faith, and colonialization, the Spanish Inquisition that enforced the Catholic doctrine of purity and biblical infallibility, caused the deaths of thousands of people. Ironically, the person who created the Spanish Inquisition, Queen Isabella, was the co-patron who gave Columbus land, money, and resources to sail to the New World. So the first trips from Europe to the New World were about discovering and creating new settlements under the Catholic Church. So the doctrine of Catholicism, which believes in the infallibility of the Bible and the Pope, is what caused the colonialization and creation of slavery. The American Civil War. Some of the reasons for the American Civil War was due to religious violence, where Scripture justifies conquest, persecution, and holy war. The 30-Year War, Catholic versus Protestant. The tribal conflicts invoking biblical promises. The Crusades. Christians believed God commanded them to reclaim the Holy Land from the Muslims. The Reconquista, 711 to 1492. Christian kingdoms in Spain fought to retake the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim rule. They saw it as a religious duty to establish the infallibility of God's kingdom, as the Old Testament told them to do. The colonialization of European men upon indigenous people, the Great Commission, the Manifest Destiny. The Trail of Tears was justified due to the belief that Christians had the right to conquer the land and subject all within it to God's rule of infallibility. The idea that there is an infallible God or an infallible Bible or an infallible Pope led to the justification of violence, God's will. This was a Crusader slogan, framing war as a sacred duty. The exclusion and persecution of anyone outside of Catholicism or a small group of Protestants, such as Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, any religion, sect, or group of people, whether similar or extremely different from the branch of Christianity that opposed them, they were massacred. In essence, wars arise not just from the Bible itself, but the conviction that one's interpretation of the infallible Bible or the infallible God makes the difficult and inevitable choice to conquer everything that isn't white or a specific version of Christianity. And the infallible Bible is why the ancient Jews committed genocide, and they still are. That's not to say that all Jews are bad, of course not. Any more than all whites are bad. There is a considerable amount of both groups that do things that are extremely against human rights. But as I've said in previous videos, the group of people that suffered through the Nazi Holocaust in the 40s can, 80 years later, become the people who do genocide themselves. And it's not surprising. A lot of the leaders that enforce their own infallibility of leadership and infallibility of doctrine, usually they're leaders who believe in Muslim or extremist religious ideology, like Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden, and Kim Jong-il from South Korea. Basically, everyone America trained to be in charge later turned out to be a authoritarian pig. Castro would be in that department. So, the belief that any religious or ideology is infallible, that their God is infallible, that the people who work in that infallible God's name is infallible, is justifying and excusing acts of depravity. Nothing and nobody is perfect. Everybody has flaws. But if everyone was perfect, the world would be a very boring place. But not everyone's weaknesses are good things. And the worst acts of violence and behavior I have ever seen in history were by people who claimed to be God's chosen people or God's chosen representatives. And right now, that would be the MAGA and the conservative political parties in America. They believe that if they don't want abortion or they don't want immigrants, that is a holy thing. It's not. If you read the Bible, Jesus says you're supposed to serve the stranger, serve those who are hurting, those who are homeless, those who are not believers. That does not excuse everything else in the Bible, but there are good things that you can find in every religion. But no matter what good they do, it does not negate, does not fix, and does not justify or even resolve all the horrible things religion has done. And in my opinion, there is no belief that has killed and harmed more people than the idea that the Bible or that their God is infallible.